Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone out there that's listening is having a great day, and I appreciate you for tuning into another one of these reviews. Before we get started, make sure you are smashing that subscribe button to stay up to date with some of our latest content. We are here with another movie review today, this time on Primate, a movie that released last month in January. For me personally, the beginning of the year tends to be like this dumping ground for really bad movie projects. We've already gotten a couple really bad stinky turds this year with Return to Silent Hill and The Strangers Chapter 3. I'm not sure why it tends to be this way, but seeing how it's the beginning of the year, I went into this movie with very low expectations. I didn't see any ads for this movie whatsoever. The only thing I saw was like a single static photo ad while I was scrolling on Reddit. When I loaded this movie up on Apple TV, I clicked on the director's page to kind of look at what other films he's been involved with. With movies like Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City, and Strangers Pray at Night, I knew that while I may not be in for a great movie, I was at least going to be entertained for the next 2 hours. I feel like that's a really important concept that a lot of us get caught up with. Movies don't have to be genre defining or constantly raising the bar. Not every film we watch needs to lead us to greatness. It's kind of like sitting around a campfire when you were younger with your friends telling ghost stories. They didn't need to be exceptional. They just needed to be fun and keep the moment exciting. Primate focuses on grabbing your attention by being predictable and yet still never letting you down. It makes you stress about what's going to happen next and then validates those fears by doing exactly that. The movie's plot is super basic and never tries to be anything more. It follows Lucy and a bunch of her college friends on vacation at her father's home. He's a famous writer who's not only rich enough to own a cliffside home in Hawaii, but also a pet chimpanzee named Ben. Now, Ben is seriously crazy smart. He has this iPad device that he can press on-screen buttons and have it speak for him. Lucy's dad is deaf, so he also knows how to sign. Her father leaves to go on a book signing tour and finds a dead mongoose in Ben's enclosure just before taking off. It's later revealed that that mongoose tested positive for rabies, but it's already too late. He is out of town, and Ben has already started his killing rampage from contracting the rabies virus. That's pretty much the plot in itself. There's some small melodrama sprinkled here and there throughout the film, like with the death of Lucy's mom or her crush liking one of her friends instead of her. Thankfully, the writers focus more on delivering some thrilling kills and suspenseful moments. From the get-go, we get this really intense scene where a veterinarian arrives to give Ben some shots. At this point, Ben has already contracted rabies, and he really looks like he does not want to be fucked with. Between his devilish eyes and the drool leaking out of his mouth, he just looks sinister. I mean, he is covered in face sores and just looks evil as shit. Within minutes, he is literally ripping this guy's face off like how you would peel the skin off of an orange. The kills from here are just so fun. Every time you get the feeling of knowing what's about to happen, it does happen and you cannot look away from the screen. It's paired so well with this effective tension building that I never found myself not having fun with the movie. I'd give the movie even more bonus points since I was never pulled out of the moment by pacing issues that stem from dumb decisions that the writers chose. At one point, everyone that's left alive decides to jump in the pool, seeing as how Ben can't swim and he has rabies. The pool is built into the cliffside, and just one side of the pool is pretty much hanging off. Ben starts stalking them around the pool by walking in circles until one of the kids decides to get the idea to push him off over the cliff. As you'd imagine, that monkey throws him off instead to the rocks down below, and you just watch his head splatter open. Just when you're wondering where they go from here in this standoff between the kids and Ben, you see Ben scaling the cliffside wall in the background. He then climbs across the pool lights that are hovering above the pool and scalps one of the college girls by ripping her ponytail off. These writers took this chimpanzee, delivered every irrational fear that you could think of, and dialed it to a 10. It's wonderfully addicting because you never feel like one of these characters gets killed off for being stupid. That's not to say that they weren't stupid because they are college kids. I just mean that none of their deaths were from their own inaction. I mean, realistically, what can you do when a chimpanzee with rabies wants to make you his play toy? Just to touch some more on the suspense and tension of the film, the bedroom scene is a great example of this. One guy lays in a bed waiting for one of the girls to find him. Well, it turns out it's our boy Ben that ends up mounting him. The boy ends up going through every emotion possible to get out of this situation. He tries pleading, he tries begging, he even tries commanding Ben to get off of him. At one point, he even tries bribing Ben like a toddler to catch his jingling car keys. Ben starts to toy with the boy by smiling at him and rubbing his face. Then he erotically sticks his fingers in Ben's mouth before ripping his entire jaw off the bottom of his face. You can see what's coming and you're internally screaming telling that kid to get the hell out of there. That's what I found so fun about this movie. It really does have like this consistent pacing that never lets up. When Lucy's dad does return home at the climax of the film, Ben is like on the verge of killing her. The film switches back and forth between Lucy's perspective and her dad's perspective. In her scenes, it's very loud, it's violent, it's rough. It's brutal. Her father scenes are really stressful because he's searching this destroyed house and the audio track is muted to simulate his lack of hearing. Around like every corner, you're just waiting for Ben to lash out and strike, or for her dad to find these dead bodies laid out across the house. I know this is a creature feature, but Lord, does it give off such slasher vibes. There's like this looming sense of imminent danger and you're holding your breath just waiting for Ben to lash out and strike. Even in the scene I just mentioned, it reminds me so much of the original Halloween film. Laurie wandered through the Wallace house across the street until she stumbled upon her dead friends, and the entire time, Mike was just lurking in the shadows watching her. I think what makes this movie so unique is that Ben isn't a human, but he's also not a wild animal. At least fully. He's been domesticated and has like this human-like intelligence. The end result we get is like this hybrid that has the maliciousness of a human. Maybe an easier way to describe this is that he's just really fucking creepy. After throwing Nick over the cliff, he just stands at the edge of the pool staring at the girls, and he uses his tablet to say the words, "Nick dead, Nick dead," over and over and over again. He knows he's a wild animal, and I think he uses that to get under their skin. When one of the girls is able to grab the car keys from the house, she makes a break for it. She tries starting one of the cars, but it turns out those were the keys to another car. Ben begins like tormenting her by unlocking the doors to the car she's in with the right set of keys. He eventually causes the trunk to open as like a trap, and as she's trying to get out the driver's side door, he jumps in with her, just tears and rips her to shreds. It's more often than not, we get great ideas in horror movies that are underutilized or kind of half-baked. It's worth mentioning a few more things before we wrap this up. While there may be some CGI that was used in this movie, Ben is an actor in a monkey suit. It's pretty rare nowadays to see practical effects like this being used anymore. I think in the end product, it really does pay off. It feels very natural, and I love that you can tell the actors are actually working around something that is in front of them. You never get that awkward vibe where you can tell a green screen was being used, or the actors are overacting to compensate for something not actually there. Just to state what I've already said at least one more time, Ben looks very scary. I mean, menacing as shit. The practical effects cannot be praised enough. The blank death stares or laughter after killing someone is just straight terrorizing. Something else that really stood out to me were that all of these characters are written in a very obnoxious way. The part that got me thinking though was that I actually liked it. Unlike most low budget horror films, these characters actually reflect the younger generation pretty well. Everything they portray always felt authentic to their actual ages. We don't get that fake teenager or college kid vibe from writers that are clearly out of touch with the generation they're trying to write about. As terrible as this sounds, I think the film actually preys upon this idea very well. Even when the characters are making stupid decisions, it never felt forced. It comes across as exactly what a bunch of dumb college kids would do if they were in this position. The hilarious part is that half the time I couldn't tell if I was rooting for Ben to kill them or if I was rooting for them to survive the ordeal in the first place. Either way I go with that, I never found myself not having fun or entertained at all. This is a lot more than I can say about movies I've even seen recently. The last point I want to touch on is the soundtrack of the movie. This score is loaded full with synths and violins. It felt very much like a callback to some of the John Carpenter scores of the 80s. If you're a fan of any of those types of movies, you know exactly what I'm referring to. A great score takes an already great scene and very much enhances our engagement with it. Watching a killer chimp slowly approach the closet you're hiding in really raises your heart rate. Having the same few synth keys ominously repeating itself now raises the hair on your arms with that. It elevates this impression that there is no hope or escape, even when your eyes are already showing you that. It's effective and done right, but I enjoy how much I was pleasantly surprised to hear this style of music in a new horror movie. All in all, Primate doesn't raise any bars or break any new grounds. It's like going home and enjoying your mom's cooking. It's not the best dish you've ever had, but it does have soul and it doesn't leave you feeling empty. It's one of those movies you add to your watch once a year list because it's genuinely just a great time. I wouldn't say it's the perfect popcorn flick, but it is a good one to sit around with your friends and just have fun. I'd say I had a better time with Primate than I thought I would, so I'm going to give this film an 8. The ending wasn't as satisfying as I hope it was going to be, but it did have some really good substance leading all the way up to it. Creature features have always been a really guilty pleasure of mine, and Primate felt really refreshing. I think its biggest compliment is that it never promised to push any boundaries ahead, and yet it's a great recipe for future directors of this genre. Maybe I'm being a little too generous here, but it's up there with some of the great creature features like Jaws or Deep Blue Sea. I think in a decade or so, we're going to call Primate a classic of this genre. Thanks for tuning in, and if you have any recommendations, criticisms, or observations of the film that I missed, make sure you leave that in the comments down below. As always, guys, make sure you stay safe out there, and most importantly, stay munchin', stay crunchin', and we will see you next time. This is Swimming in Popcorn, signing off.